In this lesson, we're going to talk about this really neat thing you can do called select into. You'll want to use it sparingly, but it's a really handy thing. If you notice, when I say select star from units, basically it shows me everything in the units table. Now you notice in this database, I have one table right now, units. How could I copy this data if I wanted to maybe just back it up? Like maybe I'm thinking, maybe there's like 1,000,000 records in this table. I'm about to do an update query, but it's the end of the day. I'm in a hurry. Maybe I want to back up the table, kind of, before I proceed. How could I do that? Well, you could back up the database, but that usually doesn't help you in a live system because you'd have to roll back the entire database just to restore one table, and then it would override everything else that's been happening. Well, there's a really neat thing that you can do in SQL Server, really in any database system. It's part of SQL. You could there's the select into clause. I'm just going to make up the name of a table. Now, whereas select star from units will return a record set, if I say select star from units, but inside of that I put between the star and the from, if I put into units back, what'll happen is it will actually make, I'm going to get rid of this, it will make a new table. Now it didn't return anything, it just tells me 6 rows were affected, meaning that, if I go to tables here now and hit refresh, see now there's another table called units back. Pretty cool, huh? But notice if I run this again, it says there's already an object name units back in the database. So I can't create a table if it already exists. That's why this only seems to work once. If I did something like this, then I could keep renaming stuff all day long and keep making tables. But a couple of things about this strategy. If I look in a database and months later or a year later I see like units underscore back or back to, all I know is that somebody, probably me or somebody, made a copy of that, but I don't know how relevant it is. Like if I want to clean it out or get rid of it, I don't know if I can do that or not. So it's not always a great idea. You might sometimes want to dump these backup tables into a separate database so you don't have to look at them. One thing that you could do is something like this. Like what's today's date? And let's see, it's 1703. You could do something like this, and then go to tables, and then go to refresh, and then at least if you back it up, it'll have January 20th, 2014 at 5:03 in the afternoon. Those are the different things that you could do. But I want to call your attention to something. The table that you put stuff into, like for example, if let's actually look at this table that we just created and just see what it looks like. Now that looks an awful lot. Oops. These tables are going to look an awful lot like they're the same. Now, the only thing that's different is if I keep adding stuff to the units table, it's not going to get reflected in here because this is just basically a snapshot in time. But something that you need to realize is that these two tables are very different. First of all, it's not really accurate to say that this is a copy of this table because this table has certain things about it over and above the data. If I had a trigger attached to this table, it would not be attached to this one. But in addition, let's just look at the columns of these two tables. Now, if I look here and I look here, do you notice how in this case, in the table that's a copy where it says U key, it's an int, but here it's also a primary key. See, when you do a select into another table, it does not preserve the primary key. It will copy the data, it will copy the name of the field, but it will not make this a primary key. So in other words, what's different about the original units table is that this is a primary key and it's also auto-incremented. This is not. This is just a dumb table. It's just a dumb table. So in other words, I could actually go here and go to say edit all rows, it won't let me change that, but it's really not an auto number. It's a key, but it's just not an auto number. So it's not of the same it's not of the same like essence as this table. So when you do that, all you're really doing, select into, is really a down and dirty way to easily copy what's inside of a table. It copies the schema partly. It'll copy the name of the field, the data type of the field, the actual data in the field, but it will not copy certain things about the field. If it's an auto number, if it's a primary key, it won't copy that. It just doesn't know how to do that.